Well, hello there. How is everyone? I hope you're all well. You are amazing, amazing people, you. And you're looking absolutely amazing, by the way, on this fabulous, fabulous Friday. I'm just trying to knock stuff off the desk. I don't actually know why that's sitting there. Anyway, we're going to get straight into the meat and potatoes because I've just going to do a live later, be there. And I've received some strange emails today, some really strange emails with a load of seemingly conversations regarding Bryan Kohberger and conversations going back, way, way back. Odd, but if you want to see what those are, come and check out the live later. I need to go through them and just find a way where I can put them on the screen without showing who the people are. But anyway, what we're talking about in this, we're talking about means, motive, and opportunity. Because we've spoken about the crime and the fact that, you know, there's always a chance that Bryan Kohberger was indeed the person who done it. But again, we talk about means, motive, and opportunity with Bryan Kohberger. Did he have the means to do it? Well, he's a person. He's a human being. So rarely he's got the means to do it because anybody can do anything if they set their mind to it. Motive. Now, what would be the motive with respect of Bryan Kohberger? Now, if there's any truth to these emails that I've received that shows a long conversation thread, it would appear that what they're trying to say is that mental health played a part in the Bryan Kohberger situation, and specifically a specific medical condition. So again, if that's the case, a motive is mental health, and then again, we could say that yes, that makes sense. But if you get rid of a mental health issue, then what would be his motive there? There would be one of two things, and that would be that Bryan Kohberger was simply a psychopath and he wanted to carry out a heinous act, and it was just a case of randomly picking some people who he had no connection with whatsoever, which seems to be what Ann Taylor is alluding to, that there just simply is no connection between her client and these people. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he didn't do it, it just means there is no connection. So again, we look to the motive being just he's either a psycho or there's a mental health issue in the background. Opportunity. The opportunity is one that I struggle with respect of Bryan Kohberger, because I don't believe when it comes to opportunity that this specific night would have been the best opportunity. Now, opportunity generally means when can I carry out something that I want to do that poses the biggest chance of me being able to do it with the least amount of risk. Now, bearing in mind that this was a football night, that could have potentially mean that they were drinking. So, yeah, you could argue that they could have perhaps been incapacitated. And he could have looked at it like, I'm not going to walk in there and they're going to be as able-bodied as they would any other time. But equally, going there on a night of football, it could have been busy. It could have had a load of people in there. And in fact, outside that property would have been a lot of cars, and it would appear from an outsider that perhaps there was more people in the house, and he could have in fact walked in and to an abundance of people being there, and the fact that this was a football night only added to that. So how did he know that he was going to walk in that house and not face an abundance of people? But again, maybe that just didn't play into his mind at that point. But then you've got to think, then for him to completely ignore the risk factors, then what would lead somebody to ignore those risks? Would it be someone simply snaps, and that would mean that they wouldn't perhaps consider everything in terms of risk? Anyway, so means, motive, and opportunity with Bryan Kohberger are not as straightforward as we would like when you're trying to apply blame to them. But when you apply the same thing to the fraternity and the university, things become somewhat easier. And again, I'm not saying that anybody here is guilty. I won't even say that Bryan Kohberger is guilty, because again, I need to see more. I need to see a lot more. But I do have to consider everything that we have seen. And what with this recent situation that would seem to show that the students of Idaho seemingly have the ability to coordinate a planned sort of attack on someone by going to their home in a large group and attacking someone, and that situation was protected to a degree. Why has little Timmy got to get a private sort of a private legal representation in order to get this looked at? This is a criminal offense. This is a group of people who goes to someone's home and attacks him, knocking him unconscious, nearly killing him, and seemingly no one really steps up and gets involved. Law enforcement are accused of dragging their heels. The college is accused of trying to sweep it under the rug. So something sits incredibly off here. So with respect of means, motive, and opportunity, we look at the Idaho 4 case and apply that to the fraternity. Means. Certainly means. As much means as there are in the Bryan Kohberger situation, if not more. Because these people are at ground zero. So they will have a lot of inside knowledge as to what is actually going on this night. Potentially they'll know who's with whom, where they're going, and what's going on, what's about, and it just, that to me seems less problematic than trying to apply that to Bryan Kohberger. Now, motive, again, if we hear that there's a fight, and we have seen posts, and albeit we don't know the accuracy of them, we don't know the authentic nature of those, they could just be rubbish and garbage. But the more that this progresses, the more it seems that they could hold some form of validity. And that means that motive could simply be that there was some anger, there could be some upset around this group and potentially other students, part of this fraternity situation, the fraternity and sororities, and it just fits as much as Bryan Kohberger, if not more. An opportunity, again, this factors no differently than the means. Opportunity, probably even more so, for the same reason that I've just said. The fact that they're all together. They spent time together on this night. There was a fight. There was an issue. They knew that Xana and Ethan had left. And where were they going to go? They were likely going to go home. And if you pair that with what it would seemingly suggest, and that is that there is a situation around this area where they are protected, they can do things that they want to do. They can form gangs, they can go out and attack people and be protected by the situation. Let's not forget, and it seems ludicrous when you strip it back to bare bones, but normally you would see a college or university step back and try and avoid and get out of the way of these sort of situations. Washington very quickly washed their hands of Bryan Kohberger. They didn't step up, they didn't get involved. You haven't seen Washington State University plastered all over the Idaho 4 case, even though it would suggest that the very person who did it was a student of their university. But yeah, Idaho University stepped up and seemingly controlled the entire case from the beginning, even as far as taking control of the crime scene itself and not preserving it, they destroyed it. And again, when you factor in, again, things like the Hudson Lindau situation, which many, many people still struggle to accept that Hudson Lindau was just simply an accident, but that's how it was portrayed to the world. We just don't know. We just don't know. We can only speculate. But for me, if you factor in all of these little things together, an ingrained system that protects itself, this brotherhood and sisterhood that is willing to do whatever their brothers and sisters want and hide and protect one another. And not just during school. I mean, this is a brother and sisterhood that goes way beyond school. What are they willing to do? What are they willing to hide? And why is there so much silence and quiet around this case? Why is nobody talking? I've said this before. Sometimes the silence is deafening. But maybe it is just Bryan. And maybe this was a mental health issue. Or maybe he was just an absolute lunatic. Which, again, resorts back to there being a mental health issue. Or is there more to it? Can anyone truly, with 100% certainty, say that Bryan Kohberger is 100%, and they would put their life on it, he is the only person that actually makes sense in this crime? Or are people just saying he makes sense in this crime because he's been named as the person who did it? And if that's your mentality, then do consider all of the people who have indeed been wrongfully convicted in the past. It happens, and there are people inside today serving horrendous lengths of time for things that they simply didn't do. Let me know down below what you think, and I'll catch you all in the next one.